All right, welcome to Steering Committee monthly meeting number 6. You can find the agenda as a PR right now. You can track previous Steering Committee meetings at the README inside the GitHub community repo. Out of the last Steering Committee meeting, there were a couple of demos, including a demo from the Luna and the Quasarch team on some work that they've been doing around Docs 2.0. But there's a number of items, again, on the agenda for today. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Anil to get us going, and I'll take notes in the background. Anil, take it away.
Thanks, Tyler. Hey, everyone. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and do the usual. Getting pretty good at this. Number 6. All right. So for people that have been here before, or for people that are new, quick rundown of our agenda. So what we typically do on these calls is we kind of do a recap and high-level recap of everything that's happened in the last month or so across various projects. And then we discuss any issues or feedback from the community in terms of how our overall open development process has been running. Any sort of grievances or conflicts that people want to bring up, this is a good time to do that. We review all the projects in the list of projects that we have, and we prioritize or shuffle them around or change status on some of those things depending on where things are. And we review any sort of GitHub discussions that people may not be looking at that should be getting attention. And then we open it up to any sort of general feedback or questions from everybody on the call. One of the additional things that I think we should do today is just generally talk about the testnet and sort of how things are going on that side, the GPU incentivized testnet and specifically. And then also talk maybe a little bit about what is coming up next in terms of initiatives for things like the testnet that we're going to be running over the next 1 or 2 months, at least until the next steering committee meets. Cool. If there's no objections to that agenda, we can go ahead and start with the first item on the list, which is discuss any sort of community feedback in terms of how things are going across general, managing of the projects or any sort of conflicts or grievances or issues that anybody wants to bring up. So I'll give it a couple of minutes for people to share any sort of feedback in general. If you have any feedback that you want to bring up, please raise your hand or type it into the chat. Cool. I'll take the silence as there's no feedback that anybody wants to share, which is good, I guess, in some sense. It seems like things are running pretty smoothly overall. So that's always nice to hear. Hopefully people are not shying away from sharing any sort of negative feedback. But if there's any other things at any point, feel free to drop them into the chat. Moving on to the second item, which is the projects list, and sort of going over the list of projects out here. Don't want to go through every single one of these projects in super detail because all of that happens typically in the specific SIGs and the work groups, but kind of want to touch upon some of the high-level ones that I know are in progress. But if there's things that I haven't touched upon that we should be touching upon, then please raise your hand or interrupt me at any point. So first on this is I'm going to skip over console authorized sprint support because we're not really working on that. That's paused for now. We should probably change the state on this to something that reflects the pause state. But GPU support is probably the good one to talk about next, and maybe talk about the testnet in general in the context of that as well. So overall, the testnet for GPUs has been going extremely well, at least from what I've been able to observe. One good reflection of that is that we have 18 providers on the network right now in terms of GPU providers, and 25 GPUs on the network, right? And this is a variety of different models. So you can, the Pareto team, thanks for doing this, where all the GPU numbers are reflected on the dashboard now, both active as well as inactive providers. And for each of these providers, you can actually click through here and you can look at what type of specific GPU was spun up here. So overall, I think this, at least the first leg of this incentivized testnet, where we try to bring on providers, has gone off really well. Um, and one of the actions that we took from that, and a few of us got together this morning and talked about this in very much detail, is one of the things we want to try to do is seek sort of one-on-one communications with all of the people that have set up providers on the testnet right now as part of this incentivized testnet, and find out like what have been the pain points, and specifically see if we can make sure that the people that are keen on maintaining their provider continue to do so when we get to mainnet. So that's kind of one of the big actions that has come out of this. We're continuing to push forward with trying to get more providers onto the network, but we're also moving forward with the second phase of and second and third phase of the testnet, which is around getting people to deploy, build up SDLs as well as deploy workloads onto these GPU providers. So that's very much in progress right now, and overall things seem to be going well. Does anybody have any general feedback outside of the things that I mentioned, or any sort of comments on top of what I said, in terms of things that we have learned from the testnet, or in terms of how things are going? Cool. Yeah, so we'll provide more information in terms of how we're going to operationalize some of the feedback, and making sure that a lot of these providers, or most of these providers that are on the testnet today, get onto the mainnet as well. But yeah, overall things seem to be going pretty well with the testnet. In terms of GPU support itself, I think there have been a couple of issues that have come in, but Tyler or Arthur, keep me honest on this as well. I don't think there's been anything that is like a significant showstopper at this point. So we feel pretty confident in terms of being able to get this over to mainnet potentially towards the end of this month, early August timeframe. Is that kind of where we're tracking even now, Tyler and Arthur or Scott?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's correct.
Very cool. Yeah, overall, excellent job from everybody on this call, as well as people in the community that have helped, not just with all the code changes, but also supporting in the logistics of this. It was probably the most complicated testnet we've done to date. So huge kudos to everyone. Client libraries, I don't know if the Quasar team or Luna is on the call to provide an update on this. I haven't seen a whole lot of things happen here. We still have that pull request that is out there for the client library spec. I think last time we talked about potentially trying to close that out. I don't know, is Quasar, anybody from the Quasar team on the call? Doesn't look like it.
No, I know that they've been heads down with some other Akash-related projects that they've got going on. But I'll certainly try to close out that PR that's active right now for client libraries, and then get a status update between meetings that we can share.
Awesome. Thank you, Tyler. Cool. Content moderation. I know that the Plato team started working on, so we have the PRD, just to recap a little bit, we have the PRDs for the two content moderation APIs, as well as a spec for the APIs itself. One is for being able to surface up data on what sort of content. Then the second is for being able to apply content moderation filters on top of that. I know the Plato team had started working on some of this. I'm assuming that you had to pause it in order to go and do the things that you needed to do for the testnet. But if there's any other updates you'd like to share, please go ahead.
Yeah, actually, that's correct. We paused for our GPU support. We are like heads down, getting all the providers get their support, whatever they needed to put their GPUs on the testnet. So yeah, currently paused, but we'll start after the testnet.
Great. Yeah, that makes complete sense in terms of priority. Okay, economics 2.0. I know. So at this point, it makes sense to talk a little bit about in this context of next things coming up after this testnet as well. So for those that are not in the loop, one of the things that is also one of the code changes that is also part of this testnet right now, which we're not actively testing, is the change to support stable payments on Akash. So there have been code changes made by Adam Bozanich, who's probably not on the call right now, but yeah, to support essentially being able to deploy on Akash using USDC. And one of the things we are working through right now is um, doing an encore testnet following the current testnet, where we would have people utilize the essentially the feature that has been built for being able to deploy on Akash using USDC. So Arthur has he's working on changes to make sure that we can test our existing testnet with a testnet from the folks over at Osmosis in order to be able to get USDC onto Akash Network and make it available for people that want to deploy. So that's in progress. Outside of that, is there other things worth sharing at this point, Arthur or Cheng or anybody that's actively involved with Economics 2.0?
Yeah, thanks, Neil. A few things on that. Initially, we're going to just make sure that the code base is working as intended, and all of the rules that described in the tokenomics and the take pay are followed, so we don't have any hiccups on that. And once we prove all that works, we're gonna start testing it right after the GPU.
Yep, and just really quick chime in from me in terms of forward looking here is the integration, like as far as the UI for stable payments, right? To make it a lot more usable on the client side. So that there's been some initial very early discussions at this point in time among the core team to spec that out and create a PRD where we have a draft internally circulating. So we're going to get that fleshed out and finalized with a couple of more technical reviews, and then we'll probably be sharing that publicly very soon.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a really good point to bring up as well. So I think, at least in my head, the way I'm thinking about this is once we have that published in GitHub in terms of a high level spec for what the UX should look like for making this easier to use than it is right now, then we would basically look to spin up a work group or handle it as part of the C clients to make changes on the client side to support that UX. So look forward to seeing that. Cool. I don't think there's any. I guess I'm not close enough to the EDU cert program. Adam Wozni, if you're on the call, or anybody else that knows what's going on with the EDU cert program, any sort of updates that you want to share?
Yeah, I can give a very brief one. So Akash EDU is live. There's one course that is active on Akash EDU. However, kind of reached bandwidth limitations in terms of adding new content on there with the hackathon that we're working on, the events that are upcoming, and GPU testnet. However, as a part of the hackathon, we are looking to add hackathon tracks that would be creating educational content that would live on Akash EDU. So at this time, there's really no updates other than it's live with one course, but we're working towards adding new courses once we launch the hackathon. So that's kind of where Akash EDU is right now.
Awesome. And I think the next two are kind of in your wheelhouse as well. So if you want to keep talking about those, go for it, Adam.
Yeah, for sure. I see events as the next one. Yeah, so events. So we have several events upcoming, starting kind of kicking off the week after next. We're going to have 4 Akash insiders attending and representing Akash, both on stage and off stage, at several events that we're sponsoring. I'll also be moderating some events that are moderating a few panels that are happening at those events. There should be more updates after those events take place, but those are the big things that are kind of top of mind. And then lastly is Q3 governance proposal. So working with Scott, working with Huey, we've put together the Q3 governance proposal for Q3 events, and then we're starting to think about Q4 event governance proposal. So that should be live and up for a vote within the next week or so here. And that's kind of it on the event side. Oh, and then the last thing is the hackathon. So yeah, we're making good progress in the hackathon. We have a to-do list items. We have 4 Akash insiders who are helping both on the community marketing side, or the community management side, and on the marketing manager side. We have a to-do list items. We have a pretty good rough idea on the tracks or the things we want people to build for these hackathons. After a call earlier today with some folks, we are thinking about splitting the hackathon up into 2 hackathons. I still need to kind of work through what that would look like, but the idea would be one would be kind of a light, low lift, kind of low hanging fruit hackathon just to kind of get some potential Akash EDU video content up. And then the other would be a little bit larger scale hackathon with AI GPU support, community support, and Akash ecosystem support. So TBD on exactly what that looks like, but we're moving in the right direction in terms of getting either 1 or 2 hackathons out the door.
Awesome. Thank you, Adam. Just to sort of dovetail on what Adam said, and it kind of encapsulates a couple of other things we talked about before as well. So from just an overall community events standpoint, as well as from a marketing standpoint, essentially the cadence of things for the next couple of months are we're going to wrap up the current GPU testnet that we have going on. This is going to wrap up by the end of next week, early week following that. And then the moment that is done, we are hoping to jump into this second new testnet, incentivized, maybe not incentivized, but this new testnet for testing out stable payments. That's expected to go for a week until around the end of the month, approximately. And then once we're done with that, we're right upon our mainnet upgrade timeframe. So we'd be looking at basically running a governance proposal for about a week towards the end of the month, and then going through the mainnet upgrade. And then following the mainnet upgrade, once we have a few GPU providers on the network and are able to run AI workloads, we would look at running this hackathon that Adam talked about. So it's kind of a series of events from a community standpoint as well as from a marketing standpoint that are going to go on from now until mid to end of July, and well into August as well. And so so lots of things coming up in the next couple of months. Adam talked about potentially us discussing splitting up that hackathon into 2 potential hackathons, and the reason for us considering doing that was simply because once we get to the mainnet upgrade, in order for the AI portion of the current hackathon to be successful, we need to make sure that we have not just enough, not just sufficient to have GPU support in mainnet, but also have enough GPU providers spun up on the mainnet. So at the minimum, like most of the people that are spun up providers on the testnet should have spun up their GPUs on the mainnet as well, because we need those in order to have these people that participate in the hackathon deploy AI models and such. So if it turns out that the timing of this hackathon is getting pushed out too far, then we might consider splitting it into 2, having the first hackathon that does not involve GPUs and AI happen first, and then have a subsequent hackathon with AI. So that's kind of where we're going. But overall, there's like 4 or 5 marketing/community events to think about for the next 2 months or so. Awesome. Any thoughts or questions on any of that so far before we talk about a few more things on this list? Cool. Moving on. Dockside migration. I know this is also a Quasark team question, I think, for the most part, but I know Tyler, if you had any sort of updates you wanted to share on that.
Yeah, I know that again. Scott Carruthers has been working with Luna team on developing Luna and the team on developing a strategy for that migration path. There will most likely be a working group session before the next steering committee for Docs 2.0, where a strategy will be implemented about freezing new additions to Docs while they can move everything from Gitbook to Hugo. So that should be happening again as a working group session between steering committee meetings. I just want to quickly point out, I know out of the last Docs out of the last steering committee meeting when Luna gave a demo, there were some folks that were very excited and had some feedback for Lewin and his team. If you go inside the STIG documentation Discord channel, you could see the most up-to-date version of the documentation 2.0. So if anybody has any feedback about structure, design, anything, please feel free to leave it there, or there is a support issue for tracking Docs 2.0 inside the support repo that's also in that Discord channel that you can comment specifically there. And again, once the working group event is created, anybody who wants to participate live in that session is more than welcome.
Great, awesome. I think a lot of these other ones are probably not worth spending a lot of time on right now. The one thing I do want to call out, and this may be a question for Boz if you're on the call, is I know there was some discussions on Discord about people being interested in maintaining Omnibus, the repository, and working on improving it. Actually, I should just check if Boz is on. Boz is on, yes.
I'm on,
So,
yeah.
yeah, I don't know if how you, and I don't mean to keep you on the spot, put you on the spot. We can even take this after the call, but like, do you think it's worthwhile? Like, this item has been in ideation for a while. Do you think it's worthwhile for us to spin up like a work group or something, or a SIG around this? If you think there's enough traction in terms of people wanting to move this forward.
Yeah, I think there's two, right? And there's Tom Bainon and Dan, and they're just doing it automatically, just given that's part of the delegation program. So it's just an ongoing thing as part of their responsibilities in response for delegation. So I don't think that it's enough to warrant the amount of work that would take to spin up a work group for this.
Okay, sounds good. I don't think if there's anything else. Any other items we should be talking about? I can't think of anything else that is super active right now that is not spending time on, but go ahead, Tyler.
So just real quick, I know that out of SIG Design, I just want to give a quick shout out to Dennis. I know there's a number of people that host events in person, online events, and also like videos, and they need support. If anybody needs brand assets, if anybody needs anything related to design, any support, I know that Dennis, there's members of the Akashians who participate in SIG Design. So there's a number of people that are gifted when it comes to creative stuff and can support, again, any brand assets. And I just want to, again, give a shout out to Dennis, Arthur, and some other folks that are working on the Akash Network website. Obviously, Greg set the tone by creating that website at the top of the year, and it's open source now. And then there's been working group sessions around improving the website over time, including improving token pages and some of the other elements. I know that Greg is still, again, actively involved in that process as well. So just want to shout out everybody that's working on the website. If anybody wants to participate in working on the website, there is, again, SIG Design, and there's also a working group specifically around the Akash website where people can support. So just want to shout out those two things real fast.
Super cool. Yeah, there have been a lot of updates to the website, by the way, for people that are not aware. So definitely check out Akash. There's been a huge number of changes, including adding that page for the testnet. I think one of the things that we have talked about, and we need to still finalize this, is potentially like building a dedicated web page or a site for AI on its own. It's something that we've thought about as well. So I don't know, maybe this is not the right time to talk about it, but we should think about whether that requires its own work group or something of that sort. Any other things people want to bring up on the projects list before we go on to the next item on the agenda? Cool. Jumping back here, GitHub discussions. Take a look at this really quickly. I know there's been a few proposals for analytics, and one of them is from somebody that's building a similar service for a couple of other chains. I think it is Jackwell protocol and one other chain. So that one's looking pretty good. And then I know CloudMOS has their indexer as well. So we're talking through some things on that side as well. Outside of that, there is a proposal for bringing MetaMask to Akash. I know there's been a little bit of stalling that happened on that. Boz, I know you're really close to that. If you want to add, any context around that, would be good to know.
Yeah, so talked with John yesterday. He's making some edits based on some of the changes that's occurred with the Axelar's team due to some of the communications between the two organizations. He was planning on being here. He's traveling. He's on a flight right now, but his action items were to update this proposal and talk to the review it with the steering committee at a later time. But the objective there is still the same. The funding's actually still the same. It's not going to be positioned the way it is now with like it's a co-proposal with us and OmniFlex. Each chain will have its own sovereign proposal and just not be overly complicated. But in terms of deliverables, timelines, how it's going to work, it's going to be simplified quite a bit. And the timelines are...
When can we expect the proposal to be open for discussion?
The submission in the forms is already there. We haven't moved forward on a governance proposal until this is updated based on the last 2 weeks and what happened with the Axelar proposal.
Yeah, I think this the proposal that's currently under discussion talks about OmniFlex and Akash.
Yes, that's being removed. That's being completely removed.
So my question is, when can we expect a reverse proposal that's more clean, that we can, because this looks haphazard and everywhere. I don't even know what I'm looking at. I don't know why OmniFlex is even involved here, right? Like,
yeah. So his goal was to have it ready. We'll have it ready by tomorrow.
Okay.
He's just in the process of traveling.
Okay. And in like every proposal, we want very clear deliverables. We want to understand, obviously it's going to be open source, but we want to be very explicit about open source is public good. That's going to be funded.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Cool. Boss, did you want to put a comment or something based on the conversation here in this, just so they're aware of what they're
Yeah, I just had the call with John yesterday afternoon, and I'll make a public comment to update everybody on where things are and what the deliverables are by John and when to expect it.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, GitHub was down this morning. That's what I was trying.
That's right.
It's not working for me, by the way. So,
still not working for you?
It's still not working for me.
Wow.
Anyway, so yeah, the goal was to have it updated with some of the notes. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to. But it'll be simplified. It'll be outlined with the deliverables. I showed him some examples of a good proposal and how it's structured. So he's using that format.
Cool. Another one that I wanted to touch on was this proposal from the Blocklist team. I thought it was a really cool proposal. I had a few comments on it, and I think a bunch of other folks did too. I think we're waiting on a response back from Mikey and team on this one. But definitely check this out if you haven't had a chance to. The Blocklist team also showed a demo of their product in the last SIG clients meeting, which I thought was really cool. So if some of this stuff doesn't make sense, watching the demo might bring some clarity to it as well.
Okay, so it's in the last SIG meeting, so we can find the link.
Yes.
Great. I mean, this looks very reasonable. $7,500 to deploy this. I assume is going to be open source, right?
Yes.
Okay. Reasonable. I think the benefit is incredible. We're going to see monitoring observability that we really don't have much. Ability for providers is can be fed into the broader API. That we can expose to get a better understanding about the reliability and whatnot. So I think I can see how this project can go and play a much bigger role when that helps deployers deploy, right? So I think it's a very reasonable ask. I would throw my support on this proposal.
Awesome.
Do you think the proposal is good enough to go on chain? mean, are the deliverables clear, or all that stuff?
Yeah, I think there was a few questions that a few people had. Like Luna had a few questions, Shimpa had a few questions. So I think we're waiting for an update from Mikey on these things, and then I had a few questions as well. So I think once we get the new update, it's worthwhile taking a look at whether it's granular enough. Although for that amount, it may be okay to have it as a single thing. But yeah, definitely worthwhile taking a look at in terms of granularity before we send this on chain.
Great.
Let's see, what else do we have? There was one proposal for a hyperledger. I don't know how people feel about this. I didn't feel like we wanted to do this, but just general thoughts.
Is that even real anymore, Hyperledger?
That's kind of my thought as well.
Well, my opinions that may not be current. Hyperledger is supposed to be a private blockchain. I don't know if anyone uses Hyperledger or anybody wants to use a Hyperledger. I feel like it's a dead project trying to deploy. I don't think it requires a special funding per se. I don't see any funding requests here. So, I mean, it'll be, I guess, if the author wants to deploy it, I don't see a reason why. What's stopping them?
Yeah, I think honestly, like my biggest thing with this proposal was it's not really a proposal as such. It's more like a
Question?
some kind of a question that typically would go on the forums, or I guess this is a forum.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not even a proposal for building anything. So
yeah.
Okay, we can ignore that one, and then we talked about the analytics ones. Let's see.
Correct. Analytics would be the biggest priority, right? So especially when you're getting GPUs. Is there a proposal that needs feedback?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of ones. One is I think Boz has been. So this one was the one that. So we're basically looking at two options at this point. One is the one from the CloudMost team that we are looking to utilize and see if we can get our data from there. And then separately is this analytics proposal from Zach Gao. I think Zach was on the last one of the calls as well. And I think what he was looking for was not really funding, but just delegations. And I know, Boz, you've been very close. So go ahead.
He's actually on vacation. He's planning to break ground on the project second week of July when he's back, as well as spin up his validator. And his only blocker is the archival node, which has been figured out with the on-finality team. So it's just a matter of getting them connected first. They already have the schema to understand exactly what they need to build. Other than that, it's just a pure, simple delegation with meetings for an update.
Yeah, I think community will be more than happy to delegate if they see value, right? So yeah, happy to support this proposal. I don't think we need additional funding for analytics, considering CloudMost has analytics, and I think if any funding should go to them.
Right.
Hi, my microphone keeps cutting off. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I think. Let's move on to the next proposal that asks for funding.
Okay. I think that's pretty much all of them. Is there anything that I'm missing?
There's another proposal for analytics that was asking for funding, right?
So there's one from CloudMost team that we talked about. There's this one.
Grant proposal.
Yes.
Node Fleet is a Web3 blockchain and node running company focused on delivering value to proposed solution.
55K in AKD.
I mean, what is this proposal regarding? Sorry.
It's similar to the other one or the other two. I think this would still need an archival node, at least from what I'm seeing here.
Yes. Sorry, I also sent a proposal for the archival node, but it was directly to one of the teams from Akash.
Lowell, could you please put the proposal on?
Oh,
Sorry.
Greg, your mic just cut out. Where'd you want to put the proposal? Where'd you want to put the proposal? I think the last part just cut out.
We want the proposal to go through the same pipeline like every other proposal, so it should go on discussions. Lowell, if you have a proposal to do archival node, yes, please make the public so we can get it funded. Looks like that's critical for any of the analytics. But anyone from this team, AQT01, whoever, like from the Node team here in the call?
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
That's me.
Got it. Do you want to talk about it?
Yes, basically, what we offer is analytics platform, right, where we include all of metrics for, let's say, the one needed for the current protocol and for the new testnet with all the GPU needed, let's say, charts. And we're going to include, of course, like user access and all of the features needed for people can modify or add any charts if possible. But we want to deliver with the charts that are needed and are in the proposal. We also included in this proposal, we also included an Akash archival node, but we remove it because we receive like recommendation to make it separated from this one.
Got it. I see.
Yeah, our team core basically is DevOps and infrastructure, but we also do a lot of backend and a lot of data analytics because we let's say we project all of our data traffic. We have a lot of alarms in all of our infrastructure, and we have a past work with BetaChain where we build for them a hybrid blockchain with IBC and EVM, and we build for them also an indexer that extracts all of the transaction blocks from IBC and EVM. That's something that it's still under development. So yeah, I think we have the correct skills to deliver that value.
Awesome. So few things happening here. So there are multiple teams, including yours, that have ways to build analytics. I think first thing we need to do is consolidate all those efforts into a single proposal, right? And fund that analytics. And I mean, CloudMouse obviously has the most working product, and see how we can like merge those efforts. And second, I think we should decouple we decouple the archival node as a separate project, right? I think that is a common thread, regardless of what team wants to build. I think if you can put a separate proposal for archival node, that's very clear deliverable and that can get funded. I think pretty easily. But the rest of the stuff, I think we need to really huddle in the SIG analytics and figure out a more cohesive approach to this problem. Of course, Anil and Boz.
Yeah, if I can just say one thing, Boz, and then hand it over to you. So I think, Greg, yeah, you're right. There's basically, if just looking at the three proposals we have right now, or the three main contenders, we have the one from Zach, we have the one from Lowell and his team, and then we have the one from CloudMouse. Basically, like you said, the CloudMouse one is the most working. It literally is working right now, and it also doesn't require an archival node, at least my understanding of how it works. So that is the one that is ready to go right now, but it's not open source. So we're trying to figure out with the CloudMouse team if they're open to open sourcing it. That's something we'll figure out in the next couple of weeks. The second one is the one that, from Zach, that requires literally no funding, just delegations. So it's lower on cost from a community standpoint, community fund standpoint, but it does require an archival node. And he has a solution working for a couple of other chains, but not for Akash right now. So that's where that is. And then there is this proposal from Lowell and team, which I believe, as Lowell mentioned, does need a node, but I think they have an archive node that they can spin up for it as well. So we've got to reconcile these in a couple of weeks, and I think that's something on us. But go ahead. I think Boz was first, and then Lowell.
Yeah, we don't, Greg, I don't think it would be appropriate to have another archival in the proposal. We have a solution already in the works with a third-party entity that's reputable, and I believe they will support the schema that we actually need for both Zach and Lowell should this grant go forward. So we don't need to have multiple archival node solutions out there.
Okay, so how do we move forward on this proposal? What's
If the blocker is an archival node, I wouldn't consider it a blocker. We can have
who's working on the archival node? I mean, shouldn't that be
a team called On Finality that Anil and I have been talking to over the past few weeks. They're a team that's spun out from Subquery.
Oh, we also.
Yeah, can someone? Okay, so what are the timelines? Who's funding it? How are we? Like, can you tell me more? Because we have an open process. So if there's somebody working with a team privately, we need to know what that is, right? So everybody can benefit.
Yeah, if I can just jump in here really quickly, Lowell, before I give it to you, give the mic to you. So Greg, I think basically the way we move forward with analytics is in the next couple of weeks, we'll figure out if the CloudMost team is willing to open source their indexer solution. If they are, then that would be I think in my mind, the best solution for us because it's working right now. It's already designed to work with the Akash solution or with Akash Network. And it does not require us to be running and maintaining a archival node. So I think that's kind of number one. Assuming that does not go through, then we would have to decide if somebody from the community wants to run and maintain a archival node, or we want to pursue the solution that Boz is talking about, which is essentially a managed service that has a cost per month. And if that is the solution we pursue, then does the cost come from us or does it come from the community? And either way, we're going to publicly document that.
Correct. I mean, us in the sense Overclock Labs is paying for it, but that would be a contribution by Overclock Labs to the Akash community, right? So I had to be very open and clear about this. So if we are looking at a SaaS product to potentially help us with analytics versus open source product, I mean, I obviously would side on the open source, right? I would rather have community build a product any day.
Agreed on that part, but just to be clear, the SaaS portion of it would just be the archival node. The actual indexer portion of it would be either the solution from Lowell and his team or from Zach's team. And I think Lowell, your solution is also open source, but keep me honest if I'm stating it wrongly there. But I know Zach's is definitely open source. And also go ahead, Lowell.
Lowell?
Yes, I have a question for Boz regarding the archival, the Akash archival node. We had it running like for 1 week. I don't remember correctly, 1 or 2 weeks. We only missing some issues to push forward that proposal. I don't know if we can continue moving forward with it or we just keep the one with the analytics.
Okay, let's set up a following up call and learn a little bit more about this archival node. I was unaware that you were running one the last week or two.
Yes, we were just finalizing some details that we were about to deliberate with the proposal, but it's okay. We can talk about it.
Okay.
I just wanted to know, like, if it's still a need or is it not, or is it already covered by this last provider that you mentioned?
Yeah, let's sync, Lowell, and just catch up.
Awesome.
Okay, so I think the action we take away from this is by the next steering committee, we'll have a clear direction on which of these solutions we are going to pursue, both for indexer as well as for the archival node. And either way, we're going to document, what the ultimate solution direction is for community to review, as well as what the costs are and where they're coming from. So we'll take that as an action.
Sounds good.
Okay. I think that's the main ones. Any others that people want to bring up? I don't think there's anything else worth discussing, but anybody else want to talk about any of these other discussions here? Go for it.
Just a final point on the analytics. I understand that the archival node is the only SaaS product, but a few things that should be taken into consideration. If we are using a SaaS product, what is our dependency on the product to achieve analytics? What that means is, can that SaaS product be replaced by an open source product that can be run by anybody, and that indexer can talk to, right? So the real reason for that compatibility is continuity, right? If that SaaS product company goes out of business, or which happens quite a lot in crypto, I don't want community not having analytics, right? So to de-risk that the potential issue, we need to have everything open source. So even if something goes down, community should pick it back up, should have the code base to run with it, right? That's my hesitance of any private conversations. If they're happening with businesses, I would absolutely prefer a community-driven project that's open source over any private SaaS products, just for that reason, business continuity, right? So so I think analytics is still not solved, and we will probably know in the next couple of weeks. So proposals are still active, right? I think the solution would be some hybrid of some multiple teams working on this single goal, ideally. So Lowell, just because someone's talking to the BD teams are talking to like some companies, that doesn't mean it's a final solution. Great.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree. And yeah, so in all cases, we would ensure that being able to spin up our own archival node, if it came to it, would still work with whatever indexer solution we go with. So makes sense. Cool. I guess I'll jump back to this because we're getting close to time here. Talked about discussions. I guess at this point, we just open it up to any other topics that people want to bring up. Anything else that we missed in terms of projects or community feedback, conflicts, things we should be talking about? Anything else on anybody's mind?
Hey guys, it's Fig here. I'm from Squid. I think Adam said I should join this call to work out which working group I might maybe should work with. And I was wondering, is the time now to just say what I do and just get into it? Yep. Cool.
Yes, go for it.
All right. Thanks for having me. Really cool to see how you guys work, by the way. I haven't seen such a distributed organization. Yeah, so what we do, I don't know if you've heard of Squid, but we use Axelar Network as well as IBC to do cross-chain swaps and transfers across, I think we're across 43 chains now. And essentially you can, if you have any token on one chain, you can get any token on another chain in one click. And we make sure it's still composable with other actions. So you can do things like payments across chain. Say, for example, like we're working with most projects in the Cosmos, like Umi, for example, you could, we're building cross-chain lending. So you'd be able to, if you have USDC on Avalanche, or if you've got, Atom on the Cosmos Hub, you can still lend into a pool in one click. And we've got an API and SDK, which is generally what people use to build with us, and we've got a set of front-end widgets which make it really easy to use our tech. And I guess with you guys, I'd just be interested if it's useful at all to anything of what you're doing. From this call, I can see like one opportunity could be the Econ 2.0, where we can actually we can allow anyone to pay in AKT or in USDC with one click from any token on any chain. So even if they've only been able to onboard onto Polygon, they could still theoretically pay for something on Akash in one click. And yeah, we'd love to build that with you guys if you're interested.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's my big vision for an ideal infrastructure that's decentralized to be able to pay with any token for anything, just like how you would use your credit cards today, right? So that's the ultimate goal. I think the first step in that direction, we're enabling multi-currency settlement, right? So as long as the provider accepts the currency, you should be able to pay using the currency protocol level. But my understanding is you come in, you do a swap, right? You do a swap to the target currency. So I can pay technically using ETH. ETH will be swapped to USDC and paid using USDC on Akash, right? Is that
yeah, that's
USDC
right.
on Axel or USDC? I meant.
Yeah, Axel USDC could be no USDC. Could be
forgive me ignorance, but how is it different generally? Like, if I were to do it directly, using, does Axelar have an SDK? I haven't played around with Axelar enough to have enough knowledge, but are you responsible for bridging Axelar between ETH and or converting from ERC20 to Cosmos native stuff, or?
Yeah, so Axelar does bridging.
Right.
They lock USDC from Ethereum and then mint it on the Cosmos side and can send it to an address. But then Squid does a few things on top. We do the swaps on either end. So say if you want to pay in any token, or if the user has, I don't know if you guys have experienced it, but if you want to get USDC from Polygon, for example, you actually need to swap it into Axel USDC before you can bridge it over. And that's because Axelar can only bridge Ethereum USDC or Axel USDC on other chains. And the other thing Squid does is we allow the contract call as well on the other side. And yeah, we have a few other things, but generally Axelar's moving across to Squid. So like Satellite is getting cooled down, and the Squid SDK and front end is generally where people are going to be like bridging and moving tokens around.
Very cool. I mean, I have a few ideas. I love to brainstorm. Right? I think like want to enable like Ethereum, Ethereum users to pay for hosting in Ethereum. I think it'll be a really good use case if you're running a node or whatnot. Just deploy on Akash and pay using ETH, right? Like, just basic use case like that. I think it's going to open up a lot of doors for Akash.
Definitely, yeah. ETH, the community love using their ETH for things.
Right.
It's very weird, yeah.
Fig, is that the proper URL, the squidrouter.com that's in the chat?
Yeah, that's us. Yeah.
Okay, cool. In terms of next steps, certainly there's a SIG economics meeting that's happening July 5th, next Wednesday. So if you wanted to participate in that, we can make it an action item that you can give like a demo, and folks that are involved in the economics with Akash can give you feedback, and then we can take next steps from there.
I think in general, let's connect off. Before the SIG, I wanna like brainstorm a few ideas with you, just with Overclock team. I think this goes beyond. It's not economics. It's really clients, right? So this is on the client side. It doesn't really touch the economic side of things. From looking at your source code, I mean, looking at your site, it's really on the console that we need to incorporate the router, like the UI, right, in the front end.
Yeah, exactly.
It's more on the client side, I would think. But let's brainstorm a little bit before that, and we can go with a bigger proposal, a more educated proposal to the SIG clients, and then we can put a proposal on chain, and we can you can work from there.
Awesome. Yeah, exciting. Sounds good.
But there's definitely value. It brings new users to Akash, so I think that's a clear value proposition.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, I was going to suggest exactly the same thing, which is when we talked about economics 2.0, in the context of that, we talked about us writing up a PRD of sorts for user experience, improving the user experience, and a lot of that work is going to go into the C clients area. I think this would fit perfectly with that, because ultimately this is going to make it really easy for people to be able to obtain the right currency to use on Akash, regardless of what currency they have right now. So I think it fits perfectly within that. And so as we develop the user experience PRD for AKT Economics 2.0 and stable payments, I think talking to you and incorporating it into that would make 100% sense. Out of curiosity, what are kind of the costs associated with using this? I know we're almost on time, so if it's a longer conversation, we can have it separately.
No, generally everything we do is free. We don't charge people to integrate with us. We actually even have a fee module. So if you guys want to charge fees for people to pay from other chains, you can. But otherwise there's no fees right now.
Awesome. Great. Awesome. I guess we're right on time. So back to you, Tyler, to close things up.
Excellent. Well, thank you all for, again, the number of conversations. There's a number of action items, including updating the projects list, some work around the SIG analytics, and some other items that will get done between steering committees meetings. Again, the next one, I believe, is July 27th. So again, if anybody has any questions, comments, thoughts, feel free to drop them in specific SIG channels inside Discord or the general chat, or you can, again, at me specifically and get pointed in the right direction. But again, want to be thankful of be conscious of everyone's time. Thank you all for participating today. Let us know if you need anything in between meetings, and we'll talk to you all online. Thank you all for all the hard work. Again, the GPU testnet is still active, so if anybody wants to participate there, feel free to go to the working group GPU and look at the MD file around the AI incentivized testnet, and you can get started from that file or inside Discord. But everyone have a great day. Thank you all again.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.